The red dust swirled like angry spirits across the barren landscape of Kepler 442c. Zara Keth crouched behind a broken metal beam, her scale green skin visible through the clear parts of her environmental suit. The wind howled around her, carrying sand that could strip paint from metal in minutes. She pressed her back against the twisted wreckage of what used to be a human mining facility. "Base camp, this is Zara," she spoke into her communicator, her voice tight with worry. "The storm is getting worse. I can barely see 5 meters ahead." Static crackled in her earpiece. The voice of her team leader, Commander Vex, came through. "Broken and weak. Zara, return to ... immediately. Storm ... Unprecedented." The signal died completely. Zara tapped her communicator several times, but only silence answered her. She looked up at the sky, where the twin suns of this system had disappeared behind a wall of swirling dust that reached up to the clouds. The storm had come from nowhere, faster than their weather sensors could track. 3 hours ago, she had been documented in the abandoned human settlement of New Phoenix with her archaeological team. They had found the usual things left behind when humans vanished from known space 3 years ago. Empty buildings with doors left open, meals half-eaten on tables, personal belongings scattered around as if people had simply walked away in the middle of their daily lives. But this site was different. The other human settlements her team had studied showed signs of panic, of people leaving in a hurry. Here, everything seemed too neat, too organized. It bothered her, but she couldn't figure out why. Now, trapped in this dust storm, those questions seemed very far away. Her environmental suit beeped a warning. The sand was getting into the air filters faster than the system could clean them. She had maybe an hour before the suit failed completely. Zara stood up and tried to get her bearings. The settlement's main building should be about 200 meters to her east, but the storm made it impossible to see that far. She took a step forward and nearly fell as the wind hit her like a physical blow. The dust was so thick now that it was like walking through mud. Her suit beeped again, more urgently this time. She checked the readings on her wrist display. The external temperature was rising fast. Desert storms on this planet could reach temperatures that would cook most life forms alive. Even with her suit's cooling systems, she wouldn't last long. In this heat, she forced herself to move forward, one step at a time. The wind tried to push her back, but she was determined to reach shelter. Behind her, she could hear the metal beam she had been hiding behind groaning and then snapping as the storm tore it apart. The sand got into everything. It found tiny gaps in her suit's seals and worked its way inside. She could feel it grinding against her scales, irritating her skin. Her breathing mask fogged up with each breath, making it even harder to see where she was going. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, she stumbled into something solid, a wall. She felt along it with her gloved hands, looking for a door or window. The surface was smooth metal, much smoother than the rough construction she had seen in other human settlements. This was high-quality work, built to last. She found a door, but it was locked. She tried to force it open, but it wouldn't budge. Her suit's power tools were back at base camp. She moved along the wall, looking for another way in. The storm seemed to be getting worse, if that was possible. The howling wind now sounded like screaming. Then she found something strange. A section of the wall that felt different under her hands. It was warm, while the rest of the metal was cold. When she pressed against it, it gave slightly, like there was empty space behind it. She pushed harder, and suddenly a panel slid aside. Zara stared into a dark opening that led downward. Steps carved into stone disappeared into blackness. Cool air flowed up from below, carrying a scent she couldn't identify. It smelled like growing things, which was impossible on this dead world. Her suit's emergency alarm started beeping. Critical. System failure in 10 minutes. She had no choice. She squeezed through the opening and found herself on a narrow staircase. The moment she was inside, the panel slid shut behind her with a soft hiss. The sudden silence was shocking after the screaming. Wind outside. She could hear her own breathing, rapid and shallow from fear and exertion. The steps were carved with incredible precision, each one exactly the same height and depth. Human work, definitely, but far better than anything she had seen in other settlements. She activated her suit's helmet light and began to descend. The staircase went down much further than she expected. After 50 steps, she was still going down. After 100, she began to wonder if she had made a mistake. But she could still feel that cool air flowing up from below, and her suit's sensors detected no dangerous gases. At step 143, she reached the bottom. Her helmet light revealed a small chamber carved from solid rock. The walls were covered with symbols she didn't recognize, but they had the flowing, organic look of human writing. In the center of the chamber stood a single door made of the same smooth metal as the wall above. As she approached the door, it opened silently. Beyond it, she could see a corridor lit by soft, warm light. The air that flowed out was not just cool, but clean and fresh. She could smell green things, growing things, impossible things. Zara stepped through the door and gasped. The corridor stretched ahead of her for as far as she could see, its walls lined with panels that gave off a gentle glow. The floor was covered with some kind of soft material that felt springy under her feet. This wasn't just a shelter. This was a home. She walked forward slowly, her helmet light no longer needed. The corridor branched in several directions, each path leading deeper into what she now realized was a vast underground complex. Through openings in the walls, she caught glimpses of rooms filled with growing plants, pools of clear water, and machinery that hummed quietly. Her suit's life support systems were failing rapidly now. The air in the corridor seemed clean, but she was afraid to remove her helmet. She didn't know if the atmosphere was safe for her people. But as her suit's oxygen supply dropped to critical levels, she might not have a choice. That's when she heard footsteps behind her. Zara spun around, her heart racing. A figure emerged from the shadows at the far end of the corridor. It was tall and walked upright on two legs. As it came closer, she could see that it wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. Its skin was pale, its hair dark, and its eyes were the strangest color she had ever seen, blue like the sky on her homeworld. It was human, very much alive and very much not missing. The human stopped a few meters away from her and spoke in the universal trade language that most spacefaring species used. "You're in trouble?" he said calmly. "That suit's about to fail completely. The question is, do you trust me enough to let me help you?" Zara stared at him through her helmet's faceplate. Everything she thought she knew about what had happened to humanity was wrong. They weren't gone. They were here, living in impossible places, surviving where no one else could. Her suit's final alarm began to sound. In 60 seconds, her life support would shut down completely. She had to make a choice right now. She reached up and began to unlock her helmet. Maya spent the next few hours in the facility's archive room, reading through files that made her stomach turn. Every document she opened revealed another layer of Federation corruption and cruelty. Jake sat nearby, answering her questions when she needed clarification. "This report about the Moran species," Maya said, pointing at her screen. "It says they were relocated for their own protection from a solar flare. But the real documents show there was no solar flare. The Morans had developed a new type of energy technology," Jake explained. "Clean, efficient, and cheap. The Federation's energy corporations couldn't compete with it. So they made up a story about a solar flare and forced the Morans to abandon their homeworld and their technology labs. The Federation rescued the technology for safekeeping. The Morans never saw it again." Maya pulled up another file. This one was about human settlements during the Great Collapse. What she read made her hands shake. "Jake, this says that Federation ships were tracking human evacuation fleets." Jake's expression grew dark. "Keep reading." Maya scrolled through the document. The more she read, the more horrified she became. They were helping guide humans to remote systems. The Federation knew humans were evacuating, and they helped them hide. Now read the classified addendum at the bottom. Maya found the hidden section and opened it. The words on the screen made her feel sick. Project Clean Slate. Phase 2 will commence once human settlements are established in designated remote systems. Elimination protocols to be implemented after sufficient technology. Harvesting period. Maya stared at the screen in shock. They plan to kill all the humans after stealing their technology? The Federation didn't just allow human extinction, Jake said grimly. They orchestrated it. They helped humans hide so they could harvest our technology without interference. Then planned to finish the job. But that was over 200 years ago. Surely the current Federation leadership doesn't know about this. Jake pulled up another screen showing recent communications. These are from last month. The current Federation High Council is still following the same playbook. Maya read the communications with growing horror. They were discussing something called Operation Final Census and mentioned completing the human solution. They're still actively hunting for human settlements, Jake said. And when they find them, they follow the same protocol. Harvest the technology, eliminate the population, cover it up. How do you know this? Because we have someone inside the Federation. High Council. Maya's eyes widened. Who? We can't tell you that yet. But our source has access to the highest levels of Federation planning. They've been feeding us information for years. Jake opened another file. This is the real reason the Federation created. The Stability Initiative. It's not about bringing peace to the Outer Rim. It's about finding and eliminating the remaining human colonies. Maya read through the detailed plans. The Federation had identified several systems where they suspected human settlements might be hidden. They planned to conduct security sweeps of each system under the cover of the Stability Initiative. They know you're out there, Maya whispered. They suspect. But they don't know how many of us there are or where we're located. That's why they're casting such a wide net. Maya found a section that made her blood run cold. They're planning to use biological weapons? Engineered diseases that specifically target human DNA. They want to make sure they don't miss anyone this time. Maya pushed back from the computer, feeling sick. This is genocide. Pure and simple. Now you understand why we can't stay hidden much longer. If we wait, they'll eventually find us all. Maya stood up and walked around the room trying to process what she had learned. How many people in the Federation know about this? More than you think. The operation requires coordination between multiple departments. Military, science, intelligence, even some civilian administrators. And they all just go along with it? Jake pulled up a personnel file. Look at this. Dr. Amanda Wells, Federation Science Director. She's been personally overseeing the development of anti-human biological weapons for 3 years. Maya recognized the name. I know her. She was my professor at the academy. She taught xenobiology and ethics. Ethics, Jake said bitterly. She's been working on ways to kill humans more efficiently. Maya felt like her entire worldview was crumbling. I can't believe she would do this. Believe it. We have recordings of her presentations to the High Council. She talks about humans like we're a virus that needs to be eliminated. Jake played an audio recording. Maya heard Dr. Wells' familiar voice discussing human contamination and the need for final sterilization protocols. That's not the woman who taught me, Maya said quietly. She talked about the importance of preserving all forms of life. People change when they get power. Or maybe she was always like this, and you just didn't see it. Maya sat back down, feeling overwhelmed. How do you fight something this big? By exposing it. By showing the galaxy what the Federation really is. Lisa Carter entered the archive room carrying a datapad. Maya, I wanted to show you something. Else, these are the locations of known human settlements. She activated a holographic star map that showed dozens of systems scattered across the galaxy. About half of them were marked in red. The red markers are settlements that have been discovered and destroyed in the past 10 years, Lisa explained. Maya counted them. 23 settlements. That's over 8,000 people, Jake said. Men, women, children. All killed by the Federation. How do you know they're dead? Lisa pulled up surveillance footage. We have spy drones in most of the systems where we have colonies. When a settlement gets discovered, we usually get at least some warning. She played a video that showed Federation ships arriving at a small asteroid base. Maya watched in horror as the ships opened fire without any attempt at communication. They don't even try to capture anyone, Lisa said. It's always immediate destruction. Maya felt tears in her eyes. Those people never had a chance. The Federation has gotten very efficient at this. They've refined their techniques over 2 centuries. Jake pulled up another file. This is why we think our source inside the High Council is so important. They've been warning us about planned raids, giving us time to evacuate people. How many people have you saved? Thousands? But we can't save everyone. Some settlements are too remote to evacuate quickly. Others refuse to abandon their homes. Maya studied the map again. How many settlements are left? We're not sure. We know of about 30, but there could be more. Human settlements have become very good at hiding. Lisa activated another display. This is our current intelligence on Federation search patterns. They're systematically checking every system that could possibly support human life. The display showed a web of search routes covering huge areas of space. Maya could see that the Federation was being very thorough. At their current rate, they'll find most of the remaining settlements within 5 years, Jake said. Unless we stop them first, Lisa added. Maya looked at the two of them. How do you stop something this big? By revealing the truth to the galaxy, Jake said. The Federation's power depends on other species believing they're legitimate. If we can prove they've been committing genocide for centuries, that legitimacy disappears. But who would believe you? You're supposed to be extinct. That's exactly why they'll believe us, Lisa said. Our existence alone proves the Federation has been lying. Jake pulled up one more file. Maya, there's something else you need to see. This is about your research mission here. Maya felt a chill. What about it? It wasn't a coincidence that you were sent to this planet. Someone in the Federation suspects there might be human survivors here. Maya stared at the file. It contained copies of her mission orders, but with additional notes she had never seen. Dr. Rodriguez is to conduct thorough scans of all ruins and report any anomalous readings, she read aloud. Special attention should be paid to any signs of recent activity. You were sent here as a spy, Jake said. Someone suspects we exist, and they wanted you to find evidence. Maya felt betrayed, but I volunteered for this mission. It was my idea to study this planet. Look at the approval chain, Lisa said, pointing to the bottom of the document. Your mission was approved by Dr. Amanda Wells personally. Maya saw her old professor's signature on the authorization. She sent me here to hunt for humans. The question is, Jake said, does she suspect you found us? Maya thought about her communications with her team. I've been out of contact since the storm started. If I don't report in soon, they'll come looking for me. What will you tell them? Lisa asked. Maya realized that her next words would determine not just her own fate, but the fate of thousands of hidden humans across the galaxy. The weight of that responsibility was almost crushing. I don't know, she whispered. I need more time to think. Time is something we don't have much of, Jake said gently, but we'll give you all we can. Outside the archive room, Maya could hear the sounds of people going about their daily lives. Normal people living normal lives, except they were supposed to be extinct. And somewhere out there, the Federation was planning to make sure they stayed that way. Jake led Maya through the command center to a smaller room where Dr. Lisa Carter was working at a computer terminal. The blonde woman looked up as they entered and smiled warmly. Jake told me we had a visitor, Lisa said, standing up to shake Maya's hand. Dr. Maya Rodriguez, right? I've read some of your research papers. Very impressive work. Maya felt strange shaking hands with someone who was supposed to be extinct. Thank you. I have to say, this is the most surprising day of my career. Lisa laughed. I imagine so. Finding out that your life's work is about living people instead of dead ones must be quite a shock. That's putting it mildly, Maya replied. Jake pulled up a chair for Maya. Dr. Carter has been studying Federation activities for the past 15 years. She might be able to answer some of your questions. Lisa sat back down at her terminal. What would you like to know? Jake showed me some disturbing information about the Federation's treatment of smaller species. I need to understand if that's really true. Lisa's expression grew serious. I'm afraid it is. We've been documenting Federation activities for years. The pattern is always the same. She pulled up a new screen showing a detailed timeline. First, the Federation identifies a species they consider problematic. Usually, this means the species has something the Federation wants, or they're in a location the Federation needs. Maya studied the timeline. It showed dozens of species. Over the past 50 years, what makes a species problematic? Sometimes it's resources. Sometimes it's strategic location. Sometimes it's just that the species asks too many questions about Federation policies. Lisa highlighted several entries on the timeline. Look at the Kalari. They had rich mineral deposits on their homeworld. The Federation decided the minerals were needed for galactic security. The Kalari were relocated to a world that couldn't support their population. What happened to them? 80% of their population died within 10 years. The survivors were scattered across different worlds as refugees. Maya felt sick. And the Federation just let this happen? The Federation recorded it as a successful resource reallocation with minimal disruption. Lisa said bitterly. Jake spoke up. Show her the Thraxian incident. Lisa pulled up another file. The Thraxians were a peaceful species that developed some advanced medical technology. They were willing to share it with everyone, not just Federation members. The Federation decided this was destabilizing to galactic commerce. What did they do? They arranged for the Thraxians to have a civil war, sold weapons to both sides, then moved in as peacekeepers when the fighting got bad enough. The Thraxians killed each other, and the Federation took over their medical technology. Maya stared at the screen in horror. How do you know all this? We have sources, Lisa said. People who work for the Federation but don't agree with everything they do. They pass information to us when they can. People are willing to risk their careers to help you? People are willing to risk their lives, Jake corrected, because they know what the Federation is really capable of. Lisa pulled up another screen. This is why we think it might be time to reveal ourselves. The Federation is getting bolder. They're not even trying to hide what they're doing anymore. The screen showed recent Federation activities. Maya recognized some of the events from her own news feeds, but the information Lisa had provided a very different context. The Vorthan trade dispute, Maya said, reading one of the entries. I heard about that. The Federation mediated a peaceful resolution. The Federation created the dispute in the first place, Lisa said. They wanted access to Vorthan shipping routes. When the Vorthans refused, the Federation convinced their neighbors to start making territorial claims. But the news report said what the Federation wanted them to say, Jake interrupted. The Vorthans ended up giving the Federation exactly what they wanted, and it was reported as a diplomatic victory. Maya felt like the ground was shifting under her feet. How much of what I know about galactic politics is wrong? Most of it. Lisa said gently. I'm sorry, Maya. I know this is hard to hear. A new voice spoke from the doorway. It's hard for all of us. Maya turned to see a tall man with gray hair and military bearing. He looked to be in his 50s, with the kind of scars that came from real combat. Maya, this is Ben Harrison, Jake said. He's our security chief. Ben walked over and shook Maya's hand. His grip was firm, but not threatening. Dr. Rodriguez, I understand you've been learning about our situation. I've been learning that everything I thought I knew about the galaxy is wrong, Maya said. Ben nodded. I used to be a Federation military officer. I served for 20 years before I learned the truth about what we were really doing. What happened? I was ordered to carry out a police action against a species called the Zentari. They were supposedly planning terrorist attacks against Federation shipping. Ben sat down heavily in a chair. When we got there, we found out the Zentari were just trying to protect their families from Federation mining operations that were poisoning their water supply. What did you do? I followed orders. We arrested the Zentari leaders and turned them over to Federation authorities. 6 months later, I found out they had all died in custody. Maya could see the pain in Ben's eyes. That's when you left the Federation? That's when I started asking questions. The more I learned, the more I realized that the Federation I had sworn to serve didn't really exist. There was just a power structure that used nice words to cover up terrible actions. Lisa pulled up a new screen. Ben isn't the only one. We have contacts throughout the Federation military, government, and science departments. People who are tired of being part of the problem. How many people know the truth? Maya asked. More than you might think, Ben said, but not enough to make a difference. Yet. Jake leaned forward. Maya, we've been watching your work for months. You're not just a good scientist. You're someone who cares about justice. What do you mean? Your reports about human archaeological sites always include recommendations for protecting them from commercial exploitation. You fought to have human artifacts placed in museums instead of private collections. Maya felt surprised. How do you know about that? Because we've been making sure those artifacts get to the right places, Lisa said. Some of those anonymous donors who helped fund the museums were actually us. You've been protecting human artifacts? We've been protecting our own history, Jake said. Just like you have. Maya realized that these people had been quietly working to preserve human heritage for years, even while hiding their own existence. Why reveal yourselves now? Because the situation is getting worse, Ben said. The Federation is planning something big. Our sources indicate they're preparing for a major expansion of their control over the Outer Rim territories. What kind of expansion? Lisa pulled up a star map showing the Outer Rim. They're calling it the Stability Initiative. The plan is to bring all the independent species under direct Federation control within the next 10 years. Maya studied the map. That would affect hundreds of species. Thousands, Ben corrected. And based on their track record, most of those species won't survive the transition. We think this is our chance, Jake said. If we reveal ourselves, now we can provide evidence of what the Federation has been doing. We can show the galaxy that there's another way. What other way? The way humans used to do things before we went into hiding. Cooperation instead of domination. Trade instead of theft. Diplomacy instead of manipulation. Maya felt overwhelmed. You're asking me to help you start a revolution. We're asking you to help us tell the truth, Lisa said. What happens after that is up to the galaxy. Ben stood up and walked over to a window overlooking the main facility. Maya, I know this is a lot to process, but I need you to understand something. If we don't act soon, the Federation will continue to destroy species across the galaxy. And eventually, they'll find us too. What makes you think they'll find you? Because they're getting better at finding hidden settlements. 3 human colonies have been discovered in the past 5 years. Maya felt a chill. What happened to them? They disappeared, Jake said quietly. No trace, no survivors. Just empty bases and official reports about cleaning up old space debris. The Federation killed them? The Federation erased them, Ben said. Like they never existed. Maya stood up and walked over to the window. Below her, she could see the busy community of New Haven Station. People living their lives, children playing, families working together. If I help you, she said slowly, what happens to my career? My life? That depends on how you want to help, Lisa said. We're not asking you to give up everything. We're asking you to use your position to help us find allies. Allies? other Federation scientists and officials who might be willing to listen to the truth. People who have the power to make a difference. Jake walked over to stand beside her at the window. Maya, you've spent your career studying human civilization. You know what humans were capable of at their best. We're still capable of those things, but we need help, Ben added. We can't do this alone. Maya looked at the three of them, these impossible people who shouldn't exist. What do you need me to do? When WI? The storm outside was finally starting to calm down. Maya could hear the wind getting quieter, but her mind was anything but peaceful. She had been sitting in Jake's facility for hours, trying to process everything he had told her. The storm should be over in another hour or two, Jake said, checking one of his monitors. Your team is probably looking for you. Maya nodded, but she wasn't thinking about her team. She was thinking about the star map Jake had shown her, with all those hidden human colonies scattered across the galaxy. Jake, she said slowly, can I see more of this place? He looked at her carefully. Why? Because I need to understand what I'm really dealing with here. If I'm going to make a decision about what to do with this information, I need to know how big this really is. Jake considered this for a moment. All right, but you have to promise me something. What? If you decide to report this to the Federation, you'll give me a warning first. These people are my friends and family. They deserve a chance to prepare. Maya felt the weight of that responsibility. I promise. Jake stood up and walked over to a door she hadn't noticed before. He placed his hand on a scanner, and the door slid open. Welcome to New Haven Station. Maya followed him through the door and gasped. They were standing on a balcony looking down into a huge underground chamber. The space was enormous, carved out of solid rock and stretching far into the distance. She could see multiple levels connected by walkways and elevators. This is incredible, she whispered. How long did it take to build this? About 50 years, Jake said. We started with natural caves and expanded from there. This is one of our larger installations. Maya could see people moving around on the different levels. Men and women of various ages, all clearly human, going about their daily lives. She saw what looked like laboratories, workshops, and living areas. How many people live here? She asked. About 200. We have families, children, elderly people. It's a real community. Jake led her down a ramp to the main level. As they walked, Maya noticed that the technology around her was impressive but practical. Everything seemed designed for efficiency and long-term use. We've had to become very good at recycling and conservation, Jake explained as they passed a water treatment facility. We can't exactly order supplies from the Federation. They stopped at a large window, looking into what appeared to be a laboratory. Several people in white coats were working with equipment Maya didn't recognize. What are they doing? She asked. Medical research mostly. We've made some interesting discoveries about human genetics and disease resistance. Turns out isolation has some advantages. A woman looked up from her work and waved at Jake. She was about Maya's age, with blonde hair and bright blue eyes. Jake waved back. That's Dr. Lisa Carter, he said. She's our chief medical officer. She might be interested in meeting you. They continued walking through the facility. Maya saw workshops where people were building equipment, farms where they grew food under artificial lights, and even a school where children were learning. You have children here, Maya said, watching a group of kids playing in a common area. Of course we do. Life doesn't stop just because you're hiding. Those kids are the future of humanity. Maya felt a strange emotion watching the children play. According to everything she had been taught, these children shouldn't exist. Humanity was supposed to be extinct. What do you teach them about the outside world? She asked. The truth. That there are other species out there, some friendly and some not. That someday they might have to interact with the galaxy again. We prepared them for that possibility. They reached another door, and Jake opened it to reveal a massive archive room. The walls were lined with storage units and computer terminals. "This is our data center," Jake said. "We keep records of everything we can learn about the galaxy. Political changes, new technologies, species movements. Knowledge is our best defense." Maya walked over to one of the terminals and saw that it was displaying news feeds from across the galaxy. "You're monitoring Federation communications?" "Among other things. We need to know what's happening out there." Maya scrolled through some of the data. There were reports from hundreds of different worlds, trade agreements, political conflicts, and scientific discoveries. It was more comprehensive than anything she had access to in the Federation. "This is amazing," she said. "You have better intelligence than most Federation departments." "We have to," Jake replied. "We can't afford to be surprised by threats." A new screen caught Maya's attention. It was showing a map of Federation space with various locations marked in red. "What are these red markers?" she asked. Jake's expression grew serious. "Those are worlds where the Federation has forcibly relocated or eliminated smaller species in the past 20 years. Maya stared at the map. There were dozens of red markers. "I've never heard of this. The Federation doesn't advertise it. They call it territorial reorganization or resource optimization, but the result is the same. Species get moved off their homeworlds, and many don't survive the transition." Maya felt sick. "Are you saying the Federation is deliberately destroying species?" "Not always deliberately. Sometimes they just don't care what happens to the smaller species when they make their big decisions." Jake pulled up another screen, showing detailed reports on several of the marked worlds. Maya read through them, her horror growing with each report. "This is genocide," she whispered. "Now you're starting to understand why we stay hidden," Jake said. "The Federation has gotten very good at making problems disappear." Maya turned away from the screen. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you work for them. You need to understand what you're really part of." They left the data center and continued exploring the facility. Maya saw more workshops, more laboratories, and more living spaces. Everywhere she looked, she saw evidence of a thriving human civilization. "We're not just hiding," Jake explained as they walked. "We're growing, learning, preparing." "Preparing for what?" "For the day when we reveal ourselves to the galaxy. When that happens, we want to be ready." They stopped at another observation window. Below them, Maya could see a large workshop where people were building what looked like spacecraft. "You're building ships?" she asked. "We need transportation, and we need to be able to defend ourselves if necessary." The ships were unlike anything Maya had seen before. They were sleek and efficient looking, with design elements that seemed both familiar and alien. "These are beautiful," she said. "Human engineering has come a long way in the past 2 centuries. We've had to be creative." Jake led her to an elevator that took them even deeper into the facility. When the doors opened, Maya found herself in what appeared to be a command center. Multiple screens showed star maps, communication channels, and status reports from what must be other human settlements. "This is where we coordinate with the other colonies," Jake explained. "We have a network of hidden bases across this part of the galaxy." Maya watched as operators managed communications with distant locations. She could see status reports from dozens of different facilities. "How many people are there in total?" she asked. "We estimate about 50,000 humans are still alive across all the hidden colonies. Maybe more." Maya felt dizzy. 50,000 people. An entire civilization living in secret, right under the Federation's nose. "Jake," she said quietly, "what do you want from me?" He looked at her for a long moment. "I want you to help us decide if it's time to come out of hiding." "I'm just one person. How can I help you make that decision?" "You're not just one person. You're a Federation scientist who specializes in human history. You have access to information and people we can't reach. Most importantly, you're someone who cares about the truth." Maya looked around the command center, seeing the evidence of human survival and ingenuity everywhere. What would revealing yourselves accomplish? It would prove that the Federation has been lying to the galaxy for 2 centuries. It would show that humans are still here, still contributing to galactic civilization. And it might inspire other species to stand up to Federation control. It would also make you targets, Maya pointed out. We're already targets. We just don't know it yet. Maya realized that Jake was right. If the Federation discovered the hidden human colonies, they would face the same fate as the species marked in red on those maps. The storm's almost over, Jake said, checking his communicator. You'll need to decide soon what you're going to tell your team. Maya looked out at the busy command center, then back at Jake. Can I meet Dr. Carter? I think I need to understand more about what you've accomplished here. Jake smiled. I think that can be arranged. Maya sat in the chair, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Jake Sullivan moved around the room with easy confidence, checking various control panels and monitors. Everything about him seemed normal and human, but that was impossible. She had seen the official records herself. You're really human, she said, more to herself than to him. Jake glanced over at her. Last time I checked. He pulled out a small medical scanner from a cabinet. You took quite a beating out there. Let me check for injuries. Maya instinctively pulled back when he approached with the scanner. I'm fine, just shaken up. Sand can cause cuts even through protective suits, Jake said patiently. The scanner won't hurt you. It's just a basic medical check. She looked at the device in his hands. It was clearly advanced technology, but the design was unlike anything she had seen before. It had clean lines and simple controls, but there was something about it that seemed familiar. Where did you get that scanner? She asked. Jake paused. For a moment, we make our own equipment here. We? There are others, he said simply. He activated the scanner and ran it over her arms and legs. Good news, no serious injuries. Just some minor abrasions and dehydration. Jake walked over to another cabinet and pulled out a water bottle and some kind of energy bar. He handed them to Maya. Drink slowly. Your body needs time to adjust. Maya took the water bottle but didn't drink immediately. She studied the label. It was written in standard galactic text, but there were also symbols she didn't recognize. What language is this? English, Jake said. It's an old human language. I thought all human languages were dead. Jake sat down in a chair across from her. Dr. Rodriguez, I think we need to have a serious conversation. But first, you need to understand something. What I'm about to tell you could put a lot of people in danger, including you. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? I mean that the story about human extinction isn't exactly true. Some of us survived. We've been hiding for over 200 years. Maya shook her head. That's impossible. The Great Collapse destroyed Earth and all the human colonies. The Federation has detailed records of what happened. The Federation has the records they were given, Jake said carefully. But those records don't tell the whole story. Maya took a small sip of water. It tasted pure and clean, better than the recycled water on her research ship. Then tell me the real story. Jake was quiet for a long moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. The human government saw what was coming. The other species in the galaxy were getting nervous about human expansion. There were talks of limiting human territory, maybe even forcing humans back to just a few worlds. That doesn't sound unreasonable, Maya said. Many species have territorial agreements. It would have been reasonable if that's all it was, Jake replied. But some of the more powerful species wanted humans gone completely. They saw us as a threat to their control of the galaxy. Maya frowned. The Federation records say that humans started several wars during their expansion period. Some humans did fight back when they were attacked, Jake admitted. But most of those wars were started by other species trying to take human colonies. The Federation just recorded the human response, not what caused it. Jake stood up and walked. over to a large monitor on the wall. He pressed a few buttons, and the screen showed a star map. Several systems were highlighted in different colors. The human leadership made a hard choice, he continued. They decided it was better to let the galaxy think we were extinct than to fight a war we couldn't win. Maya stared at the map. You're saying humans faked their own extinction? Not faked exactly. A lot of humans did die during the Great Collapse. But it wasn't a complete disaster like the records claim. It was a carefully planned evacuation. Jake pressed another button and the map zoomed in on several star systems. Small groups of humans were sent to hidden colonies in remote systems. Places the other species didn't know about or didn't want. How many? Maya asked quietly. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. We don't communicate with all the groups for security reasons, but we know they're out there. Maya felt dizzy. If this was true, then her entire career had been built on a lie. Why are you telling me this? Jake turned away from the monitor and looked at her directly. Because you're different from the other Federation scientists who come here. Others have been here? Not here specifically, but to other sites. They come, take what they want, and leave. They treat human artifacts like curiosities in a museum. Jake's voice had a bitter edge to it. But you're different. I've been watching your work for months. Maya's eyes widened. You've been watching me? This facility monitors Federation activities in this system. We've seen your reports, your research notes. You write about human civilization with respect. Like you actually care about the people who live here. Maya felt a flush of embarrassment. I do care. Human civilization was remarkable. They achieved so much in such a short time. We're remarkable? Jake asked with a slight smile. We're still here, Dr. Rodriguez. We're still achieving things. Maya looked around the room again, seeing it with new eyes. The technology was clearly advanced, but it had a different feel from Federation equipment. It was more practical, more efficient. What is this place? She asked. It's a research station. We study what's happening in the galaxy and try to stay ahead of any threats. Research into what? Jake hesitated again. Many things. We monitor Federation activities, study new technologies, keep track of political changes. We also help protect other species when we can. Protect them from what? From the same kind of treatment humans received. The Federation likes to present itself as a peaceful alliance, but there are some powerful species that don't like competition. Maya stood up and walked over to the monitor. The star map was still displayed, showing the hidden human colonies. How do you live out here? These systems are so remote. We've gotten good at living with limited resources. We trade with some of the smaller species, the ones the Federation doesn't pay much attention to, and we've developed our own technology. Like, what? Jake smiled for the first time since she had arrived. Better life support systems, more efficient power generation, advanced communication networks. Humans have always been good at solving problems. Maya touched the screen, tracing the path between the hidden colonies. This is incredible! A whole civilization living in secret. It's not easy, Jake said. We can't travel openly, can't make contact with the major species, can't even use our real names in most places. But we survive. What about families? Children? We have them. Life goes on, even in hiding. Children are born. People fall in love. Communities grow. We're not just surviving, Dr. Rodriguez. We're living. Maya turned back to face him. Why show me this? Why risk exposing your secret? Jake was quiet for a long moment, because things are changing in the galaxy. The Federation is getting more aggressive about controlling smaller species. Some of the human colonies think it might be time to reveal ourselves. And what do you think? I think we need allies. People who understand what really happened and who might be willing to help us when the time comes. Maya felt the weight of what he was saying. You want me to help you. I want you to know the truth. What you do with that truth is up to you. Outside, the storm was starting to weaken. The howling wind had dropped to a steady roar, and the sand wasn't hitting the building as hard. Maya walked back to her chair and sat down. I need time to think about this. Take all the time you need, Jake said. But remember, Dr. Rodriguez, the storm won't last forever. Eventually, you'll have to decide what story you're going to tell when you get back to your team. Maya looked at him, this impossible man who shouldn't exist. What happens if I tell the Federation what I've learned? Jake's expression grew serious. Then a lot of people will die, and humanity will have to find new hiding places. The room fell silent, except for the distant sound of the storm. Maya realized that she wasn't just choosing what to do with information. She was choosing the fate of an entire species that the galaxy thought was dead.